Hey everyone, it's Sarah Fleming from Prepare to Dye Paper Crafts, and I knew I wouldn't be able to go live today, so I went ahead and filmed this ahead of time last night. So I'm not going to make the whole card here. I'm just going to show you how to make this watercolored art piece using Brusho. And I will go ahead and show you everything else that's on the card besides this stuff. I've got the mini gold sequin trim. One of my favorite accessories. Comes in gold, silver, and black. I use silver most often, but gold looks really good for this one. And then I've got the metallic sequins assortment. Has black and white, and then copper, gold, and silver. And then I have this Amazing is cut with the Amazing die cut from the Celebrate You Thinlits. The stamp set's called Amazing You, and the dies are called Celebrate You, so I get confused. But anyway, these are a free celebration item. You can get this die set with a $100 order. This is Celebrate, Amazing, and You. So that's those. I've also, for this tiny little strip of Island Indigo right here, Island Indigo cardstock, I used the decorative ribbon border punch. It punches out something that looks like this. But I'm just using that tiny scalloped edge where the top of my fingers are. So that's what I used there. And I think that's everything except for what I'm going to show you. So I have a piece of, I'm going to get that out of the way because as soon as I start spritzing, it gets on whatever's nearby. So, in fact, I kind of want to cover up my board here a little bit better at the top. Everything will spritz in that direction. Okay, so I am going to heat emboss this flower, and let me show you that stamp set. Where is that stamp set? Oh, see, this will be just like a live video where I can't find anything. I wanted to go live with you, I just couldn't because I've still got sick kids, so you do what you do. Okay. So this is the Amazing You stamp set that goes with the Celebrate You Thinlits dies, and the Amazing You stamp set is free with a $50 order. So if you spend $150, you get both. You get to choose, but you can get both the stamp set and the die set for free. So I'm just using this flower from the Amazing You stamp set, and we're just gonna kind of put it all over. I cut a piece bigger than what I need so that I could tape it down on the sides, because that gives me less pooling to work with. So, and then I don't have to sop quite as much. So we'll still probably have to sop a little bit. So I'm going to go over this. This is watercolor paper, Stampin' Up's watercolor paper. It's very high quality. And so I just went over that with the embossing buddy. That's like an anti-static bag that'll keep it. Look at this. I have Brusho all over my Versamark ink pad. But that's okay, because if you're it only matters if you're clear embossing, but I'm embossing in white, so it's not a big deal. But I've got blue Brusho all over mine. And I just re-inked this pad, so it should be nice and juicy for us. And I'm just going to stamp these little flowers, which are gorgeous, kind of all over this thing. And I'll have to lift it up now and then to look at it and see kind of where everything is, because I don't want them all oriented the same. So if you've never heat embossed, you just point the heat gun at the embossing powder, turn it on until it turns shiny like that. So now it's all shiny, and now we can tape it down. I'm going to try to use these same pieces of tape, and I'm just taping them down so that the card doesn't go like this and kind of buckle on me, so I don't have to keep. It gives me fewer pools of water to deal with when I watercolor. So what I'm going to be doing is some watercolor emboss resist. I don't think I told you that. I need a new piece here. And, well, I'm a guest designer at the Stamp Ink Paper Challenge for the month of February. And we're having a tic-tac-toe challenge this week. And my tic-tac-toe that I played was embossing, watercolor, and a die cut word. Then I also accidentally made a second tic-tac-toe with flowers and sequins too, a diagonal one. So I pretty much owned that tic-tac-toe board. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, I have these flowers, and I'm going to try to sprinkle pretty precisely just on the inside of the flowers, and I'm going to do yellow on some of them, and then I'm going to do gamboge on the others. And you'll see that after I'm done with kind of this first layer, you'll see that it doesn't look remotely like the finished product, because I end up doing so much more than what I'm doing with this first layer. It goes on for a while. I'll try to condense it for you so you're not watching me all day. I don't know though. I'm pretty fun to watch because, you know, my charming personality. So you might want to watch me all day. I'm gonna put a little bit of gamboge in that one. Okay, so I got the yellow and gamboge on, and now I'm going to spritz this thing, and I filled up 2 spritzers because this one takes a lot of water. I filled up 2 spritzers and an aqua painter. So when you start spritzing, your flowers are just going to get all super beautiful. Okay, so that's what happens by magic the first time you spritz. And then now I'm going to, I think I'm at, and see, when you spritz it, all of these areas between the flowers kind of also end up yellowy. And that's going to be what gives us our kind of greenish blue later, because we're going to use the Prussian blue to paint paint that area. But it's going to come out greenish blue. Okay, so now I'm going to add some Brilliant Red just to a couple of the flowers. And maybe not even to the whole flower. Just going to add some for a little bit of pretty effect. And then we'll spritz again if we have to. And see, this paper is still buckling because it really likes to do that. And that's okay. It's not going to be a big deal. We'll tape it back down and then we'll deal with the mess. I have a dry baby wipe up here, and I'll probably use a non-dry baby wipe too. And that one went outside the lines, and that's okay. We don't have to worry if it goes outside, because that's one of the amazing things that Brusho does that just makes, I don't know, it's magic. I'm going to spritz a little more here. Okay, so it's still mostly yellow in that background, and I am going to blot some of this red out, just because I don't want it to be too strong outside the lines of the flower. And so then I'm going to dab around these little pools. And I'll come in and pick these things up as we need them. And I'm going to go ahead and, just for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and dry this with the heat tool. And the reason I wanted to dry it before I put the next thing on is because I don't want that red mixing with the moss green. And I'm about to put on the moss green. And so when I put on the moss green, I definitely do not want it to mix with that red, because then it's just going to get muddier. And moss green is already a little muddy because it's more like it's yellow and purple crystals together. It's really a cool color. But I didn't want it to mix with the red, because then that'll make things muddier. So I'm just sprinkling some moss green over the leaves, and just over the leaves. And I'm trying to get it right on top of the leaves. It's okay if it gets outside the lines. Stray crystals here and there, I think, just make it even a little more fun. So don't get upset if you don't get all the moss green right where you want it to go. That's okay. So that I've sprinkled on. And if you haven't used Brusho before, so you take a stick pin or a thumbtack or a pin with a head on it and poke it through the lid and then sprinkle out of that, because if you take the lid off, I've never done it, but if you take the lid off, I hear that it makes a huge mess every time you open the pot. So, okay, so now I'm going to spritz again for my moss green. And this is where it gets kind of really cool, because moss green, you seriously never know what's going to happen. With yellow, you know you're going to get yellow and orange. And with gamboge, you're going to get orange. With the Brilliant Red, you're going to get red. But with the moss green, it's kind of like, you don't know, because you might get purple, you might get yellow, a little bit of orange here. So it's just a really cool color. I hated it the first time I saw it. I was like, that is an ugly, yucky green. But the more I use it, the more I like it. And I like to mix it with the Prussian blue, which is what we're about to do. So I'm not going to wait for it to dry this time. I am going to mop up a little bit of this pooling. Yeah, I should probably invest in some masking tape. Like, it's expensive. It's not really a big investment. I just should probably invest my time into getting some masking tape is more like it. I'm going to take a drink. Okay. So now, this is where I had the most fun last night when I was creating this card. I have a little paint tray, and I'm just going to make sure all my ink pads are closed. I'm just going to put a few taps, maybe like 2 taps, because my Prussian blue comes out really fast. I'm going to put a couple of taps in there, and then I'm going to put some water in there with my aqua painter. And you can even like, I tried a couple of different things. Like I took some out of there and put it in its own and then diluted it a lot and made a lighter blue. So play around with it, see what blue you like. I ended up not liking the lighter blue with the moss green just because it got so overpowered with the moss green that you need something darker when you've got the moss green. So then I just painted. And so you're just going to kind of paint in here. It's okay if some of your blue gets into your flower. It's not going to hurt it. It'll still be pretty. So you don't have to worry about that. But you're just going to paint all the way around this. And you're painting between the flowers, around the leaves. Now, when you get near the leaves, you can pick up some of the moss green that's still on top. You see how you get this like saturated green there? It kind of looks like old olive. So you can pick some of that up and then kind of mix it with your Prussian blue. And then you get kind of some spots of green. And that's really nice. And don't worry, we're going to take all of this off of the embossing. We'll wipe that off later. But I like the painting because then you can just kind of see where it takes you. And you can add these little flecks of the moss green in with it. And see, now I'm getting a much greener one than I did last night. I must have used more moss green than I did last night. Or maybe I used more yellow in the beginning and have more yellow on my paper. And I'm probably going to trim off these edges so I'm not super bothered by the pooling that's going on there. This might get a little browner around the edges because I'm over in a very orange territory. That's what the gamboge is. It's mostly orange. And so then you can kind of give it a minute and then look at it and see, you know, do you have the right coloring? Do you want something different? Maybe put on some of this light blue. Maybe not quite so concentrated. And see this over here? This has already turned like this beautiful green. It's almost like a faded, or not faded, but a lighter Tranquil Tide. And it's funny because Tranquil Tide is a little, I don't know, it's not my favorite, but when I put it with, when I put the Tranquil Tide with, or when I stamp it off, I got distracted. When I stamp off Tranquil Tide, I really like it. So this to me looks more like the second generation of Tranquil Tide where you've stamped off once. So that's good. So then I'm just going to come in here and wipe out. Look at this. Look how pretty that is. If I say so myself. But really, I can't take the credit because Brush Show does all of the work. So I'm just going to dab with a baby wipe. This is a wet baby wipe. I'm dabbing on, and I'm going to dab like all the leaves and stuff with one part of the baby wipe. But so I'm not going to, I don't want to dab with the same part of the baby wipe because I don't want to end up with green mixing with my reds. Okay, so then I'm going to go to a different part of my baby wipe and dab any kind of paint off of the flowers. Don't rub, dab. Oh, look, I got a little bit of extra orange in there. So that's it. That's our little art piece. And wait till that dries, because if you don't wait till it dries, then you tear it. Well, it doesn't matter, because we're going to cut that off anyway. Plus, I already tore it off. So yeah, this is what it's going to look like, and then you trim it down. and put it on your beautiful card. And it's going to come out different every time, because look at this one. This one has a lot more of the yellows, and this one I have more red and orange, and this one came out greener, and this one's a little bit bluer. This one came out looking like our retired color Lost Lagoon, and this is more like a second generation of Tranquil Tide, and so I'll put that on another card soon. So thanks for joining me. I will be back next Tuesday at 2 p.m. if I don't have a sick child. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye.